Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is February 3rd, 2023. We are in the Old Testament, and we're going to read from the book of Genesis, chapter 29, verse 31 to chapter 30, verse 43. Two main sections here. We're going to see the first section. We get a picture of Jacob's home life. So he's now got he's got two wives. His wives each have a servant. Don't have any children yet. By the time we get to the end of this, he's got 11 children. He's got 4 wives. The wives are fighting with each other. That's where they think they're going to win him over by having children. Oh, I'm not having enough children. Here's my maid. You can have her. Have children with her. Absolute dysfunction. That's what we bring. We bring dysfunction. Now, if you look at God's plan is obviously this blessing goes from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob. It's going to go from Jacob to somebody else. Who does it go to? Well, it goes to Rachel's firstborn child, which is Joseph. So if they had not engaged in all the shenanigans we're going to read about, it would have naturally have occurred that she had a son named Joseph. She just didn't wait long enough. Rachel and all the children she eventually has a child named Judah. We see in those 2 children God kind of splitting off. So we're going to start getting away from that. It goes from you to you to you to you, because that's not how you're going to bless the entire world, which is one little thin line. Kind of start spreading it out. So yeah, Jacob's going to get the blessing for this next generation, but eventually it's going to go back to Judah. That's where Jesus is going to come from. That's the one that's going to spread out everywhere. We also see a section that lets us get into the mind of Laban. We saw originally that Abraham, when he wanted Isaac to have a wife, he didn't want Isaac to go back to his home country. Why not? Well, we kind of see that because Joseph had to go back there because Esau was going to try and kill him, and Laban is just taking advantage of him. Why is Laban taking advantage of him? Because, well, there's a blessing on Jacob, and anyone that deals with Jacob is being blessed. He's being blessed. He's being blessed. He understands, if I let this guy go back, that blessing's going with him probably. It ain't staying here. So he's been tricking him and oh, I'll let you marry my Rachel. Oops, sorry, it was Leah by mistake. Well, I'll tell you what, you need to stay another 7 years, and then I'll let you have Rachel too. So deceit from his point. We even get to the point now where Jacob has had enough, and he's saying, I'm leaving. And Laban tries one more time of, well, I still need you to increase my flock, and I'll tell you what, I'll give you some flocks that you can take. And Jacob says, you know what, you give me some flocks to take with me. You're going to want them back. Let me work for these sheep. Let me work for these lambs. Let me work for my own flock from you. You can have a blessing. I'll give you a bigger flock, and then I'll have a flock of my own as well. And this is how we're going to do it. If there's any striped or brown or spotted animals, they're going to be for me, and you can have all the pure ones. Laban says, hey, that's fine. That's great. Hey, one of my sons, I want you to go out there and get rid of all them spotted sheep and take them and hide them so that Jacob doesn't know where they are. Doesn't matter. Jacob is a shrewd man. He breeds the sheep so that he gets spotted sheep, and he gets the strong spotted sheep, and he gets the strong dark lambs. And Laban, well, he gets a flock, he gets the leftovers. So let's go ahead and we're going to read this section from Genesis 29:31 to chapter 30, verse 43. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, the Lord has surely looked on my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. Then she conceived again and bore a son, and said, because of the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also. She called his name Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son, and said, now this time my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, now I will praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she stopped bearing. Now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, give me children or else I die. And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel, and he said, am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the first of the fruits of the womb? So she said, here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, and I will also have children by her. Then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, his wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, with great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I prevailed. So she called his name Naphtali. And when Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah her maid and gave her to Jacob his wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, a troop comes. So she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed. So she called his name Asher. Now Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your mandrakes. And she said to her, is it a small matter that you have taken my husband, and now you wish to take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. When Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob the fifth son. Leah said, God has given me my wages, because I have given my maid to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Leah said, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me, because I have borne him six sons. So she called his name Zebulun. Afterward she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb, and she conceived and bore a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, send me away, that I may go on my own place into my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, please stay, if I have found favor in your eyes, for I have learned